Today on Locked On Red Wings, endless pain.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's a host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University D1 men's hockey. And man, guys, I don't know if I'm awake enough to give you the pure fury that this game
it's 1:30
probably
in the morning,
deserves.
just so we're clear.
While we're recording
a.m.
this. It's just defeated, man. Really. I'm really defeated. This episode's brought to you by Indeed. Still searching for a great candidate for your company? Don't search. Just match with Indeed. Scotty, 5-4 overtime loss to the San Jose Sharks. You pick up 1 point out of 6 in California where we demanded 4. They picked up 3 points total out of 8 on this road trip, once you include Pittsburgh. First thought after this overtime loss to the San Jose Sharks, buddy, where's your head at?
Yeah, I think my first thought is one that's probably shared by a lot of the fan base at this point, which is how much longer does Newsy have, man? You just went into a weekend in which you played the Ducks, the Kings, and the Sharks, and you walked out of it with a point. That is unacceptable and an atrocity. So, yeah, my first thought, the second, honestly, it was first thought, I started thinking it. I mean, before the game even started, we talked about it yesterday, right? It was like, if you drop this game, like feel like that conversation gets very, very real. And then they got outplayed for 60 minutes by the San Jose Sharks. Yeah. And I think even before overtime, even before they came back, even before the third period, it was, it was my first thought because I was thinking it for all 60. And then they lost, and I went, all right, well, I'm still thinking it.
I mean, my first thought is in the same vein, and I was thinking it back when the game was still going on, so it's kind of cheating. My first thought was like a mid-game thought, but it was like, is this game worth winning? If it means that we drag this out longer. And like, by no means does this mean that Lalonde is going to get fired. Like, this was kind of something we set up in our heads is like, you lose to the Sharks, he probably should be gone. Like, we don't know what's going through Yzerman's head. But I guess for me, it was the final dagger, the final nail in the coffin that he's not the guy for us. And we don't need to rehash the entire conversation. We had it yesterday. If you want to hear our thoughts on the Derek Lalonde situation, talk about the Monday episode.
Yeah.
And like, it bums me out, man, because this is a guy that I really rooted for. I liked, in theory, the type of hockey he wanted to play. He seemed like a really good guy. He seems like a really good guy. But, at the end of the day, you're held to a certain standard, and the team's not making it. And I know the team doesn't have the best roster ever, but they're certainly better than this. They're better than losing to the Ducks, blowing a 2-goal lead. They're better than blowing 3 separate 1-goal leads in this game against the Sharks.
Mm-hmm.
But
and again, it's
they lost.
Look at the whole weekend. They played the Ducks, who are awful, and actually put together a somewhat respectable, I'll call it 5-on-5 performance, blew that game miserably and ended up losing. Then had one of the worst 5-on-5 performances of the entire season on Saturday against the Kings, and then just got outplayed by the Sharks. Again, as I said at the beginning, you walked away from this weekend with 1 point, and it's 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you,
like,
Red Wings.
I'm just straight up not having a good time. Like, this is This is awful.
And we called for regression, right? Like, and what a way to pat ourselves on the back for being right. The Red Wings suck. Like, I mean, we were talking all offseason, like there is a path here for regression based on the personnel that left, the personnel they brought in, and just, progress isn't linear. That's what we kept saying all offseason. But like when you're talking about it as a possibility versus when it's actually happening, it feels a lot different. And this regression is a lot more than what we expected. There's also too.
Regression is a very broad term, right? They could have had 89 points and regress technically, right? Like that.
Yeah.
This is awful. I mean, they are they not one of the worst teams in hockey? Isn't that what you said before we hit record? Like standings wise, aren't they in the bottom of the division now?
They're 28th in the league right now.
There you go.
Technically, if you want to go by points, they are tied for 30th in the league.
So there you go. Tied for the third worst team in hockey.
Yes. They're not. That's the thing. They
get outplayed every night.
Yeah. Listen. Let's hone in. Let's focus. Right. We talked about this yesterday at length. The problems with this team. What in this game against the Sharks, man, what was the difference maker for you? And I feel like you've kind of already hinted at it based on the conversation we've already had so far.
Legitimately, I cannot think of anything else that was of bigger impact than the continued inability to play 5-on-5 hockey. Like
that's exactly where I knew you were going to go, and I completely agree.
It's ridiculous, man. Like they, as I just said, right? Like they get outplayed every single night. It is mind-boggling that a team with, and like we can make jokes and like talk about like how quote unquote awful they are and everything, but like this team on paper, the talent on this roster should not be this horrible at even strength. It is unbelievable by the literal definition of the word unbelievable. They have now spent the better part of 3 seasons getting outplayed nightly, and it's ridiculous. And I keep going macro, and we're trying to go micro here. I know it but. Like
it's
this game was the epitome of that. Like they got outplayed by the San Jose Sharks. That was the end of my thought. Like they got outplayed, outshot comfortably.
It's fine to go macro because like this is the culmination of all of the problems this team has had this season, right? And we've been talking about it. And in this game, again, the same things ring true. Like, this is a head coach that likes to run a system that relies heavily on using the defensive zone, shutting things down to create 5-on-5 possession. This is a game where you played against one of the worst teams in the NHL yet again in the San Jose Sharks, and you let yourself get dominated throughout the game. They carried 60%, Scotty, of the Corsi chances at 5-on-5. Obviously, the actual shots for at 5-on-5 was 66%. 27 5-on-5 shots for versus 14 against.
66%.
And like
that's 2/3 of the shots.
This is a roster that's comfortably better on paper than the San Jose Sharks, and you got dominated. And I don't have another difference maker. Normally I come to you with 2. And there's other things to note about this game that went wrong, and there's a couple things that went right. But like it's the same things we always talk about going right, and those things just aren't enough to overcome the amount of deficiencies this team has. And that's the problem. Like, obviously, we're going to talk about the power play being dominant. We're going to talk about how the top line, or the players at least on the top line, are the only ones who are really consistently scoring goals, and DeBrincat and Larkin. Casper scored a power play goal, which was exciting. Like, those are all positives. Power play being top 10 in the league is incredible. It's what's keeping you in these games, if you are in these games.
The only reason you're not 32.
Yeah. But, like...
that and goaltending.
Holy, well, that didn't really show up in this game, unfortunately.
No, not. I mean, yeah, a couple of Really, really weak goals against for sure.
But like,
But
I
like
don't know,
that's the problem, right? Like
right. We were relying on goaltending to bail us out, and eventually goaltending wasn't going to bail us out.
You're relying on toward the end of his career, Cam Talbot and Alex Lyon to and your power play. Like you're just hoping that you can keep games close and that the power play can get you over the edge, and that your goalies that are on like 1 and 2 year deals are gonna will you to victory every night. And that's just not a sustainable product. And we've been saying that since opening night. We've been saying that that's not a sustainable product. And every single win pretty much this season, you can go back and watch those episodes, and it's us going, this is great, but
right.
and this is why.
And now it's not even a fun product and unsustainable. It's a boring product and unsustainable. Like, how crazy is that? That like they're boring to watch, and like the success they do find is unsustainable at the same time. Like, it's just
because there's no action. It's low event hockey, but just for us and not for the opponent.
That's dude. That's a quote graphic right there. I swear to God, that's a banger quote. You're so right. You're so right. It's low event hockey, just only for us. That's great. We're gonna head to a break here, and when we return, I guess we'll talk about notable performers. Good and bad in this hockey game. We kind of already spoiled it, but we got at least 25 minutes to fill. You guys are in the trenches with us on this early Tuesday morning loss to the San Jose Sharks, wrapping up a road trip where you got 3 points out of 8 and only 1 point in California. So stay tuned for another riveting segment of Locked On Red Wings. I need me some Papa Roach tonight. I'm just going to be laying in bed, scrolling Indeed, because we're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work using Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed hires or delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Indeed you do.
Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Man, Red Wings are going to have me on Indeed looking for a new job, man. The way they keep playing like this. Jeez. Oh, it was a miserable evening. Notable performers, dude. Good or bad? What pops in your mind?
Let's knock, two birds with one stone here. We can just do special teams. We mentioned the power play. I think that is a notable performance because it was solid yet again. It's as we said in segment 1, it is the power play and goaltending are like the only consistent positives that this team has had this year. And the power play has been fantastic. And it is one of the only things they've been able to hang their hats on. One of the only things that has been a reliable way for them to produce offense, which they literally have an extra player on the ice. So I would hope so. But even amongst the rest of the NHL, they are one of the better power play units in the league this year. We saw a huge clutch goal by Cat that I think was still on the power play before it ended there. And then obviously Marco Kasper's goal, the power play was really clicking again in this one. And it has all season. It's just really frustrating that doesn't translate to any other aspect of the offense or puck possession. It's strictly on the power play, but to the power play's credit, it's been really good and was good again in this one. And then on the flip side, the penalty kill gives up another goal. It's awful. It's one of the worst penalty kills. I was just going through the percentage for the worst penalty kill in the league over the last few years, and it's all like somewhere between 70 and 74% usually, right? Like the bottom of the NHL. And the Wings were at 66 going into this game and then gave up one. So they are likely below 65% now on the season in the penalty kill, which is pretty remarkably bad.
Well, and your point still stands regardless, but going 1 for 4, or I guess you should say 3 for 4 on the penalty kill, and this one's actually an improvement. So they gave up
Correct.
a power play
you're
goal
right.
and actually improved.
Would have gone up giving up a goal. It improved. That is
just
remarkable.
Simply because they were able to kill off the other 3. It
right.
is, but like you're 100% right? Like I'm splitting hairs on the actual percentage part.
It's almost it's literally almost 1 out of every 3.
Right.
Like, and 66% would be one. Like that's literally you give up a power play goal. You give up a goal against on your penalty kill 1 out of every 3 opportunities on average. That is mind boggling.
The power plays that you have faced in the last couple days. I mean, at the time of the game when it was played, the Ducks had the worst power play in the league. Right now, it's now ranked at 26th. The Kings have the 27th worst power play, and the Sharks are 22nd. And you can't keep the puck out of the back of that. Other notable performances. I mean, the top line and the top pair are the only, still consistently the only lines out there that can actually get consistent puck possession. It's crazy how this team gets dominated at 5-on-5 every single night, and then you look at the statistics, and it's like, oh, well, Simon Edvinsson and Moritz Seider lead the team in Corsi for percentage again, and shots for percentage, because everyone hates, some people don't like it when I use Corsi and expected goals for. Well, just pure shots for percentage, shots on net versus shots against. Seider and Edvinsson were atop the team with like 65%, I believe it was. 67% for that top pair. They led the team. Seider playing 27 minutes in this hockey game. Now, they both had a couple of moments where they like coughed the puck up. Edvinsson had like one where he like stutter stepped and he got his pocket picked.
Coughing it up like crazy at the end of the third, man. I don't know what was happening there.
But they're still consistently the only pair out there that can actually get anything done. Because once you put
the only
other
pair
pairs
I
out there,
enjoy seeing on the ice. They're the only pair that when I see them on the ice, I don't go, oh my goodness, and hold my breath. So, yeah.
It's so starkly – the contrast is stark when they get off the ice and Petrie and Sherratt or Hull and Gustafsson get on the ice because it gets so much worse because those pairs were not good. In fact, Gustafsson is – 30% Corsi for percentage in this game. Jeff Petrie was 28. Justin Hull's 28. Ben Sherratt's 27. Like the rest of the defensive pairs are near the bottom of the team in Corsi for percentage. Shot attempts percentage at 5-on-5. Like that's just, it's asinine. And those are the guys that are playing lesser competition against a bad Sharks team.
Correct.
And like, again, they're not being supported by the forwards either, which is another, basically it all comes down to, I was going to say this for segment 3, but I've already built to it, so I'm just going to say it. This bend, don't break style of defense that we play is going to make me pull my non-existent hair out. Like, it is... And like we've tried and we've talked about how in ways it is working, right? Like they're doing a good job of limiting the high danger attempts. They're clearing rebounds, but they're not winning the puck battles. They collapse into their own pocket, and that's how they prevent those high danger chances. But because they're collapsing low, they're getting no pressure along the boards, so they're not winning those races to the boards to get the loose puck, and they're not pressuring the point men into forcing a bad pass. They're just letting them take shots. And so that's part of the reason why you're getting hammered with shots by every single team you face, because you're so focused on bending but not breaking in the defensive zone that you give up such a volume. But eventually, you do break. Bend but don't break does not work because eventually wear and tear will break you. And that's what bending is. It's wear and tear. Meanwhile, in the offensive zone, we're focusing so much on quality over quantity. And I don't know if this is a Derek Lalonde mandate or just the style of the players as it is, but the amount of shots we pass up, and I'm on the team, the Red Wings pass up in the offensive zone for that extra pass that ends up getting tipped wide or just misses the stick when you had a shooting lane is driving me nuts. Here is the thing, and it's the inverse of what I just said about the bend, don't break. Quantity will create quality. I am officially a quality hater after watching this game. Like, this is ridiculous, Scotty. Like, by shooting the puck,
things.
By shooting the puck, you create rebounds, which then creates a quality chance. Look at Marco Kasper's goal, and I tweeted it. You can find my tweet, or it's also on Blue Sky too. It's like, when you shoot that puck, Gustafsson takes that puck from Kasper, he shoots it right back into the net. It creates a juicy rebound because the Sharks are scrambling. You score. That quantity shot created a quality chance for Kasper and gave you a 2-1 lead. Like, sometimes you got to create chaos out front. And they're just, in the offensive zone, the few times they do finally get chances, they just more worried about passing it around the perimeter, looking for that slam dunk goal, that they miss other shooting opportunities to create chaos and score an easy goal. And then meanwhile, in the defensive zone, they're just like, let's play the perimeter game where we're going to just collapse down low and let them take 1,000 shots, and eventually we're going to get worn out and tired, so we either chip it out and change, or they score eventually after 4 minutes of sustained pressure. Like, this, whatever this is, intentional or not, is not working. And this is ultimately why I think we need a change. It might not be 100% Lalonde's fault, but somebody needs to be held accountable. And unfortunately, when accountability needs to be held, it usually falls on the coach's head first.
Yeah, I actually think you didn't contradict yourself. I think I think the Wings are contradicting themselves. I don't think you were. Like, I mean, think about it, right? Like, your complaint is the same, just on different sides. Like,
right.
Bend don't break. Yeah, that means the other team's getting a lot of quantity. That's what right? Like, it is the same thing. It's you're giving up a lot of shots and you are not shooting the puck. What team ever has had that be a sustainable way to play the game of hockey? We don't shoot because we want the quality and want to wait for the right opportunity and wait for the high danger. And defensively, we're going to give up a ton of shots because we believe that we can keep it all to the outside and we can prevent the high danger. That is not, you are walking such a fine margin of error. Like, you have no wiggle room. You have no room for error whatsoever when you play that style of hockey. And
bingo.
It's completely unsustainable, as we have seen for going on 3 seasons.
And that builds to getting outshot 34-20
Correct.
by the San Jose Sharks. You had one shot in the third period halfway through.
Yeah.
Like, you don't think that all game sitting on your heels, getting shelled, you don't think, I'd like to get in on that? Like, it's just, it's asinine the way they're playing right now. And I am firmly at a point that something needs to change. And I don't like calling for people's jobs because, like, I mean, this is a man trying to make a living, but, like, also to keep your job, you got to be able to do it well. And again, while it might not be entirely his fault, it always falls on the coach's head first. So my only fear is that Bugner would take over, and I don't think that's much of an improvement. But that's a problem for down the road.
We talk about that when it happens, yeah.
Right. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we'll finish up this conversation on the San Jose Sharks. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings.
Oh.
Nice job, Scotty. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to $100 your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. And if you sign up today, you'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't need to even win to receive that $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 off after you play. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what else? Quite
Talbot.
literally, the only thing that went right was the power play.
I mean, like, there's little things like Casper getting another goal is nice. Him heating up is
On the
nice to
power play, by
see
the way.
on the power play, right? We did see the lines shake up, right?
Yeah,
We
I
saw
think that's what we're
Casper.
talking about. Casper as 2C was awesome. I think something that my my roommate pointed out before puck drop was that means that Kane, Vlad, Sherratt, Petrie were all going to be on the ice at the same time, which is and was terrifying when it happened. But really nice to see Casper get rewarded for his strong play lately, even though it hasn't showed up in the box score necessarily. Although this is 2 goals over the weekend. But I say weekend as if like Monday is part of the weekend, but you get the point.
I think it counts for the purposes we're talking
it's
about.
whatever. But yeah, I'm glad to see him move up in the lineup. And honestly, like if this season is going to go completely off the rails and the Wings aren't going to be a competitive hockey team, then you should give Casper as many minutes and put him in as many situations as possible for development.
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw too, like you had the shutdown line put back together, which I was like excited about because you had Kane on the shutdown line essentially when he was with Comfer and Cop. So it's like, all right, good. Get that line back out there. Hey, and it produced a goal. Rasmussen scored a goal.
Wow. A defender's skate produced a goal, but yeah.
That's still his. That's still his goal. Man, I don't know. There's like there's nothing I can say that will make anyone feel better, and nor should it with how this game.
Comfort down to the 4th line.
Had a breakaway though, missed the net. Didn't even count as a shot, but he had a breakaway.
Literally missed the net. Dude.
He
had a breakaway and did not record a shot on net with a 1-on-0 breakaway.
Raymond had an assist in this game.
Yeah.
So he stays, producing. Larkin had 2 points. He had the goal and an assist. Larkin still is on a heater goal-wise. That was a 5-on-5 goal, by the way. Nice play by Simon Edvinsson.
There was.
Alex
Edvinsson, it looks like I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they get a little bit of a break now, right? They don't play again until Thursday. So I'm sure he'll get, some tests run and whatnot. But that was scary, man. That was a really, he went into the boards in a very, very awkward way, but literally went back out there as his next shift. He missed no time. And so that was at least nice to see. But I'm sure they'll run some tests and whatnot from now till Thursday.
Yeah, and DeBrincat stayed the only other player on the team who could score. So you got DeBrincat with 8 goals, Larkin with 11, then everybody else with like 5. So, or fewer. It sucks, man. Talbot wasn't good in this game either. This is his first game. I think actually this might be his second game where he's been a little rough. But this was a game in particular. I mean, that second goal was just inexcusable. Like, you can't let that in. That was a bad goal. Just right off his glove, over and in, blows their first lead. Luckily, Rasmussen and Blackwood combined for another easy one on the other end. Kind of made up for it, but like
kind of canceled out, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and if you want to rationalize it that way. Celebrini's goal, I wasn't a big fan of. I thought that was another one that went off of Talbot and in. I thought he should have had that, but then again, you had Kane with the laziest poke check in the history of the world.
Terrible defense.
Patrick Kane and terrible defense go kind of hand in hand there. I don't know, man. Like, there's just this team just doesn't have it right now. And like, I'm not going to Talbot's been so good for the Red Wings this season. Like, literally one of the best goalies. He's 37 years old. Eventually, he was going to have a bad game.
Yeah. Yes.
But I don't know. And we're all thinking it. We're all on the same page. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think that's really the question is like, does this happen as soon as they get home? Right? Like, they're going to fly back and have a meeting. Like, is that how it's going to go? I mean, you got a little bit of a break now. You don't play again until Thursday. Like, you have some time. But they're not going to do it like the day before the game. the next game either. So like I think you'll probably find out if it does happen. It would probably have to be like on Tuesday. No, I mean this is like way overanalyzing and overthinking and trying to like who knows, man. But like that's kind of where my head is at. I just like, how much more do you need to see?
That's it.
Are you just like hoping for a bounce back? Is that like, if you don't do it now after this horrible 3-game stretch, they're toward the bottom of the league in every single team statistic except power play, like all of them. And like, I don't know what else you really need to see after getting outplayed by the Sharks, blowing a lead to the Ducks in a weekend. I'm not really sure what else, like how much further you can dive, I guess. Like what is the limit if it's not this?
Well, and I think this is where Yzerman has to make his decision. He goes, all right, is firing Lalonde worth it? Do I see this team being able to be competitive? And is that worth, draft position? Is the draft position versus the experience for the young guys worth it to play competitive hockey for the rest of the season? And that's where you got to make a decision. Okay, do we stick it out?
So maybe play competitive hockey.
Yeah.
It's not a guarantee either. It's not like, you're just going to bring in the savior of the franchise, like necessarily either. Like that's also an if, which is why I think it is worth it, because it's...
But with Steve, like, I know he puts on like a poker face, but I find it hard to believe he's happy with how this is playing out.
Yeah,
Think back to the day of the trade deadline last year where he decided to stand pat and not sell off. And then they get pumped by Arizona, and they interview him during the intermission while they're getting pumped by the Coyotes of the day of the trade deadline. And he was pissed.
Yeah.
Imagine him now. I don't know. And part of this falls on Yzerman because this is his roster, this is his coach, and they're all underperforming. But, yeah, we've talked about it. I'm done.
Yeah, same. I'm ready for bed, dude. It's 2 a.m.
Yeah. We ball, I guess.
We ball, baby.
We'll have some good news for you guys tomorrow. We're going to be talking Griffins with Andrew. So they're first place in their division. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.